Food is very important to me. Every single time that I land in a new country, I'm always trying to figure out what is the cuisine, where's the best place to get the best version of it, and how can I make sure that every day I am as full as possible. And I have had incredible experiences eating all around the world. I'm always very experimental. I'm always trying to find the thing on the menu that I've never heard of before. I'll try anything at least once, and that has created like a treasure trove of culinary experiences all over. And here today though, I'm going to talk about the 10 best. In making this list, I realized two things. One is that a lot of these experiences don't necessarily have the best food. Like the best meal includes the people you're with, the environment, like how you're feeling that day. And a lot of these just encapsulate this feeling of like excitement and joy that I get so much in travel. The second thing that I realized is that I'm very hungry because it's Ramadan and I'm fasting, and so making this list of the best meals I've ever had and thinking through, all of the countries and what I ate there, it has been almost torturous. But I'm excited to share with you guys, so here we go. So this group of tiny islands in the Pacific is not known globally at all for its cuisine. In fact, nowhere in the Pacific is really famous for cuisine, and it's often even kind of made fun of because of their obsession with canned foods that were brought over initially like during World War II and have since stayed popular because on the small islands there's very little agricultural land. Of course they have fish and they have coconut, but beyond that there's very little like produce that's able to be made, and very little like meat as well. But I had this amazing experience when I was in Kiribati. I was there around Christmas, and there's all of these Christmas parties that were happening. And because I was traveling alone, a lot of people took pity on me and they would invite me to their parties. So one night in particular, I remember I was staying at this small hotel, and the hotel staff was having their Christmas party. And they invited me to come with them. And it was out on the beach, like right at sunset. And they had this huge table, and each person had brought a dish. And all of the dishes included coconut. The way that they did 25 different things with coconut, frying it, boiling it, baking it, and mixing it, and shredding it. I mean, there's so many different types of coconut, some hearty, some sweet. It was just incredible to see. And this one dish in particular was a coconut curry fish, and the fish was freshly caught in Kiribati, and of course the coconut was from Kiribati, and it was just a fantastic experience on the beach with the sunset, good food, good people, and in a place that you would never expect to have a meal like that. When I was in Chad, the country in the Sahel in northern Africa, I was in N'Djamena, in the capital city, and after being there for 5 days, I had explored quite a bit, and one day I just wanted to relax at the hotel. And I knew that they had Camel there, but I wasn't exactly sure about it, and so I asked the hotel where I could go to get it, and they said don't worry, we'll send somebody to go get it for you. And so I said, all right. So I went out to the pool, and I'm sitting there reading, and maybe an hour later, this guy comes up to me with a big baguette and a brown bag, grease dripping through it, and full of camel meat and this spice. I think it was cumin, but something else as well. And so I was at the pool, in Chad, with this delicious, really fatty and meaty and well cooked camel barbecue that I put in the baguette with the spice on top, and it was just phenomenal. I mean, I love camel, and it was just this beautiful experience to end my week in this new country. I had a wonderful experience with camel also in Mauritania. When I was in Nouakchott, I was hosted by a guy who used to live in America but is Mauritanian, And I said, oh, like we eat camel in the UAE. And he said, we do as well here, like let's do a barbecue. So we went to the market, we got the camel, we brought it back, and one of the guys at his house like cooked it like on this barbecue out in the open, like in the courtyard. And like we just sat there and had this like incredible camel barbecue. And I think camel is a good example of when visitors come to somebody's country, often they only want like chicken or beef or normal food, right? People don't even offer the food that might be a little bit exotic or eccentric or whatever. But people are so happy when you not only want to try the food that they eat, but are already familiar with it and already show that you like would love to join them. And camel's always been, anywhere that I go, I want to have it because I love it. But it's also been like a way for me to connect with the people, to show the similarity of this white boy shows up in Djibouti, and of course there's like this like foreignness about that. But then to say, oh, one of my favorite foods is one of your favorite foods, it really connects you. September 2017, I went to Syria, and I was the guest of the family of one of my friends. And I think that I was a little bit nervous, obviously, to be going to Syria in 2017, but they had made sure that everything would be taken care of and that I would be totally fine and not to worry. And so that was good, but of course there's still a little bit of like nerves, right? But immediately after I arrived, like I think we put our bags down and we went straight to this restaurant to go meet family of my friend. And we arrived at this place and there's like 20 people, like all cousins, all aunts and uncles, everybody is there. And they're so excited to have a guest. Like Syria is like absolutely one of the most welcoming places that I've been. And there was so much food on the table, and just all these people excited to see me and so happy to have me in Syria, and then all these different foods. And so to have it all these smiling people, like super welcoming, I just immediately lost any like nerves and any stress that I had about being there. And it was delicious. And it was funny because my friend's mom wanted to like see me like eat each thing. So if I was sitting at the other end of the table and they would pass everything down to me, so I had to have one of each thing. There's probably 20 dishes on the table. So not only did I have to eat at least a bite of all of the 20 things, but there's sometimes when she'd say, oh, did you eat this? And I'd be like, yeah, I had it. And she'd be like, I didn't see you like eat it again. And I think I probably gained like 5 kilos like just in that one meal. And I was there for 3 days, and that every single meal following that was the same. I mean, just so much good, delicious food. I was overfed. In 2015, I was doing this big Southern African road trip with my girlfriend. When we got to Mozambique, there's like some difficulties in like the entering process, and so it was a little bit stressful entering, and it kind of like brought our spirits down. But then we got into Maputo, and we were driving along the highway that goes all up through the beach, and on the beach there was these like tiny little like stalls that were all cooking on a barbecue chicken. And we didn't expect it to be like amazing, but we like sat down and it was low tide, and so we had this gorgeous view of the Indian Ocean, and there's all these stalls, and we just picked a random one sitting on these plastic chairs. But the chicken that they gave us was delicious. I mean, so savory, and like with just the perfect amount of spice, and like perfectly cooked. And just like being there like with my girlfriend, with this beautiful ocean, like we had just driven through this gorgeous like scenery to get there. I mean, we still talk about it to this day, being like, that was so good. And it was probably like $3, you know what I mean? Like, and maybe we just picked the best of the stalls, like who knows? Maybe all of them are that good. I'm not sure, but it was so good. One of my favorite countries is Algeria, and I got randomly stuck there for a month in 2017. I was supposed to stay for 6 days. My Libyan visa got delayed, and so I just waited it out in Algeria, in Annaba. And one of the reasons why I love Algeria so much, not only because the people were incredible and the scenery was amazing. But a lot of why I love it was because of the food. I was hosted so incredibly well in Algeria by complete strangers. But just like in a lot of these stories where, it's like aunties and moms like trying to like overfeed me, in Algeria, everybody's mom would be like, I need to cook for you like one day, and they would fight over who would get to cook for me, and they would always give me, and I always say these wrong, but there's shakshuka with egg, and then there's shakshuka, I think is how you say it, which is, I don't know, is it like wheat? God, I should have like Googled what it is before I talked about it in a video. Anyway, Google Algerian shakshuka, it's delicious. It's like pasta kind of, I think it's probably like wheat, little bits of wheat. They put like meat on top of it and like in some kind of sauce, and it's amazing. Another of the best meals is here in Abu Dhabi, and that is margouga. Now margouga, I like to call it the Emirati lasagna. It's essentially lots of layers of bread with chicken and chicken broth, or like other meat and potatoes and carrots, and it's gooey and it's warm and it's super filling, it's super hearty, and I think it's like the most delicious thing. I'm usually given margouga in Ramadan because as like a single guy without my family here, a lot of my Emirati friends and their moms will want to feed me and make sure that I have food during Ramadan. One of my friends always gives me margouga, and it is like, it's just delicious. I mean, it always comes in this like huge ornate pot, and it usually lasts a couple days because like they always give a huge amount even though I'm just me. I also love margouga because I love the UAE, and I love like learning more about it and like understanding the culture and kind of the depth here, because so many tourists come and they only see the glitz and glam, or they only see the modernity, and they forget that we have such a rich culture and that there is so much beyond the shiny stuff. And margouga is to me the best example of Emirati cuisine, but it also kind of shows their culture in a really delicious way. My mother is German, and I often go to Germany to see my family, and the most incredible part of any trip to Germany for me is the huge breakfast table that my aunt will make, because it has so many types of cheese, so many types of German bread, all these homemade jams, and like different types of cold cut meat. It's like delicious, and they always do it in this beautiful way. And now that I always say, oh my God, like this is my favorite part. Like I love the breakfast, can't wait for breakfast. So now like every time that I go, they're always trying and like make it better than the last. And I was there for Christmas a few years ago, and they did this like incredible spread with candles and like a beautiful cloth. And when I lived in Germany when I was 18 for 3 months in the summer working for my uncle, and every morning, it'd be like a smaller breakfast, and it was just like always delicious. Nothing beats German breakfast. There's so many great parts of it. It also just reminds me of family. For me, New York pizza is like unbeatable. Even if it's the $1 slice, or if it's like the nicest spots in Brooklyn, or the place that my uncles have been going to for decades in Westchester, like whatever it is, wherever it is, New York pizza is unbeatable. And pizza in general is amazing, but I'm a little bit of a pizza snob. Like I really try and eat it only in New York or in Napoli, like because it's not really a fantastic experience anywhere else. And so I just have so many memories, like late nights in New York going and getting $1 slice, or whenever I'd have guests, like I'd walk them across the Brooklyn Bridge into Brooklyn and like go there. Or when I would visit like with my uncles where they grew up in Westchester, they would take me to this place called Sunset Pizza that they always loved. Everybody loves pizza. New York does it the best. I have a connection to New York, so that's where I went to school, and that's where my father lived when he first came to America. And I think that it's so, I don't know, like it's nice to like have a connection to a food that isn't just saying it tastes good, but is like connects to your family and to your memories and to your life story. And for me, New York pizza, way up there at the top. And a lot of my Italian family lives in Argentina because a lot of Italians went over there in the past. And famously in Argentina is the beef and the asado, or the barbecue. And it's typical when you're a guest in an Argentine home to be treated to an asado. And so every time that I've gone to visit my family, I'm kind of the guest of honor, and so they throw a huge asado for me. In an Argentine asado, you have like various different types of meat. You have like the sausage, you have the ribs, you have like the filet, whatever they're like making that day, but they'll always will be like multiple kinds. And because I would be the guest of honor, they would always give me the biggest portion of each one. And I eat many things, but I don't eat a lot. And so that was like horrible. I always, all my these Italian aunties would be there saying like, eat more, eat, like, mangia, mangia, mangia. And I would just be overwhelmed. And also because they're Italian, we also have pasta before the barbecue. So imagine being given an enormous plate of pasta, followed by a huge steak, followed by like multiple sausages, followed by ribs, and then probably a dessert at the end. I mean, overwhelming. And once when I went to Argentina, I was there for work, and I had 5 asados in 3 days because 2 of my clients gave me one, a friend that I was visiting gave me one, and 2 separate parts of my family gave me one. So within 3 days, I had to do this experience 5 times. The one that I most particularly remember was the first one. I was 18, it was my spring break in my senior year of high school. It was my first time in Argentina. It's the first time that I was meeting all of these people from my family. And in America, my family is small. There's like 20 of us or 30 of us. But in Argentina, there's hundreds of cousins and hundreds of aunts and uncles. And I mean, it was just amazing to be at this like gathering of like my family. And that was just like so lovely. I mean, not only was the beef really good, but being with family was amazing. And the final one for the video, but not at all the last in the list, is Italian pasta. I'm Italian, my father's from there, and I grew up eating pasta probably like 4 times a week. And I have so many good memories like connected with it. The youngest one is when I was like a child, and we would like spend all day at the pool, and we had this garage that was in the basement, and when we would like reach home like right when it was getting dark and we were tired, you could smell the pasta from like downstairs, and we'd rush up to eat. I remember also when I was a kid like going to my grandmother's house, like all of the family getting together, fighting over like what pasta we would have and who gets how much. And then as I got older and I would start to travel more to Italy, to my family there, every single time that I was greeted, and my aunts and uncles would make it for me. And a couple of years ago, like my like good Italian buddy and I like lived together for a little bit of time, and he would always make this insanely good pasta. And of anything, I don't cook very often, but I cook really, really good pasta sauce, and I love to cook it for my friends, and just for myself. Like if I'm like sick or sad, usually the 2 things I need is like a bath and like really good pasta. It's just connected to so many good memories, and anytime that I have it, it's like the best meal that I've ever had. I hope that you enjoyed this video, hearing about the 10 best meals that I had when visiting every single country in the world. For me, it was an awesome experience to go back through memory lane and think about all the things that were so delicious. I am going to make a couple more videos about food, my favorite types of food, and the weirdest food that I've ever eaten. So watch out for those. Watch the other videos that I have here. Comment down below or follow me on Instagram or Facebook, like whatever, wherever we can stay in touch. I'm happy to do that. And I hope that you all will travel safe and eat well.